On episode 500 of the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, we celebrate 500 episodes and I discuss the 7 health and fitness truths I've learned over 500 episodes of 40 Plus Fitness. You can find the full show notes for this episode at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/500. Have you decided you're ready to make a change? To reclaim your health and fitness? The 40 Plus Fitness Podcast is here for you. I'm your host, Alan Meisner. I'm an NSAM certified personal trainer with a specialization in corrective exercise and fitness nutrition. Let me be your coach as you find your way on your health and fitness journey. All right, let's go. This episode of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast is sponsored by Haka Life Nutrition, the maker of GLX-3. I am really glad to have Haka Life Nutrition as a sponsor. Omega-3 is one of the few supplements I take regularly. But even with years of experience and having interviewed hundreds of experts in the health and fitness field, I have struggled to find a great solution until now. We all know farm-raised meat doesn't give us the right balance of omega-3 to omega-6, and that omega-3 helps reduce inflammation, which reduces joint pain and is heart healthy. Getting enough omega-3 isn't as straightforward as it should be. From the mercury in the fish to poor production controls, it's really hard to find a high-quality product that gives you what you're after. That is until GLX-3. Made from green-lipped mussels from New Zealand, this is the only natural source of ETA. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the full name. This version of omega-3 is particularly effective at reducing inflammation and therefore reducing joint pain. That's why my wife is taking it now. I take it for heart health. Go to hakalife.com/40 plus and use the discount code 40 plus to get a buy one, get one free deal on your first order, which gives you a 2-month starter supply. GLX-3 is my go-to omega-3 supplement going forward. It can be yours too by going to hakalife.com/40 plus and be sure to use the discount code 40 plus for the BOGO deal. Hey Raz, how are you doing?
Good, Alan. How are you today?
I'm actually really, really busy trying to get things together. We've got a trip scheduled. I got it all plotted out. We're going to get to see all of our kids, our parents, and a lot of our friends, and we're going to have some little side fun trips inside the States. Still hoping that COVID and Lambda or whatever the variant is that happens to be the flavor of the day isn't a problem when we get there. But we've planned the trip. It's going to be over 3,700 miles of driving. And then, so the flight to Mexico, a week in Mexico, then up to the U.S. and a big old circle across the whole Midwest and Southeast of the United States to see family. Because we are spread out. I'm just glad there's no one further west than that, because that would have been insane. But we're going to do it. It's going to be fun. We did it last year about the same trip, really. So this one's backwards going. I think we're going in a kind of an opposite direction, or starting from a different direction and actually doing the same loop, but from a different place. So it's going to be a slightly different drive, but a real cool trip. And looking forward to that. But I've got to get so many things done before I do that. So I don't want to, because I don't want to work on this one. I want to take this one off.
That sounds good. That sounds like a good plan.
So how are things with you?
Good. Enjoying the summer. Got a good harvest out of our garden so far. And we've got a couple of camp out and running trips planned for the fall if they don't get canceled for COVID, but things are good right now.
Awesome. I'm just so looking forward to getting back to the States and having some oysters and some Brussels sprouts and all the things I can't get down here.
Right.
It's just unfortunate it's not during crawfish season. So I will miss the crawfish, but I might try to see if I can buy some frozen just for the sake of saying I had some. But
that sounds good.
Looking forward to it. So Let's go ahead and get into the show. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Okay, Rachel. Today's show is a little different, and I wanted to take just a moment because I don't want someone to miss something or to be wondering, is Alan really going to talk about the podcast for 2 hours? And the answer is no. The answer is no. I'm not going to talk about the podcast for 2 hours, but I am going to talk about it because I do think it's worth celebrating. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to start this episode with the 7 things I've learned about health and fitness from 500 episodes of 40 Plus Fitness. And I made it into an acronym because you guys know I love my acronyms. And I called it systems. And so I put Your Wellness Systems as the name of these 7 things. And really, in my opinion, if you can get these 7 things going, you're going to skyrocket. You're literally your rubber's on the road. You're going to move. You're going to get some great things done. It's these 7 things that you really just have to spend some time on. And so really, as you go through this, I think this should be your favorite episode. Bookmark it on the show notes or whatever you need to do to go back, because this really does put together a quick framework. The 7 things is about 30 minutes, and quite literally, my notes on that were like 3 or 4 pages just to get through that, because I had so many things I wanted to say, and I think I got most of them in there.
Good.
Okay. And then after we talk about that, I'm going to get into what's gone on in the past 6 years, the starting of the podcast, the whole history of it, because there's probably a lot of things about the history of this podcast that a lot of people don't know, some things we accomplished, and then where it's going, what goes into making it. Because for a lot of people, this is like this black box that, okay, how do you do a podcast? And it's like, well, I've got to record something, but then where does it go and how does it happen? And I literally walk through all of that and all the people that helped me make that happen. And then I get into the book that I wrote and why I wrote the book, The Wellness Roadmap, which is kind of my putting together at that point, which was 2017, all the things I'd really kind of learned about health and fitness. And so, as I said, I was still learning. So that's why I think if you take the wellness systems and you marry that to the wellness roadmap book, you've got a pretty comprehensive guideline to how you can live a healthier, more fit life. And then finally, I get into the online personal training, which was not my original intent before I started the podcast. Once I started the podcast, that's what I was going for, is to have this online business, training people, helping them get healthy and fit, helping them get off their medication, helping them lose weight, whether it's 30 pounds, 40 pounds or more, just being there to help people where they are, because I was a busy executive and I didn't have a coach available and I couldn't go to the gym regularly. I couldn't go to a coach regularly. So I was like, how do I make this happen? How do I make this sustainable? And an online coaching program seemed like the right thing. There weren't any of them available at the time. It wasn't available. And I was like, this is kind of crazy that no one's doing this. And the only people I hear doing it are elite athletes. So someone's trying to learn the snatch or something like that. And it's like, okay, you're going to do this lift, film yourself, send it to me, and this professional coach, rather than them having to spend tens of thousands of dollars to fly over there, they pay them a good bit of money, but they looked at it on a video and gave them critiques. And so that was the only online coaching that existed when I started this. There was probably some smatterings, but you couldn't find it anywhere. And there also weren't any podcasts for people over 40 in the health and fitness field. So all those kind of marry together to say, okay, this is how I can get a message out, and then this is what I can do. So in listening to what's going to happen here, you'll actually then also hear from my clients to kind of understand what online training is about, to understand what they've accomplished and how they feel about all this. So a good opportunity. And what I like about the client testimonials is, if after you listen to the 7 things, you're going to see how these folks put these things in place. So not only is it me just telling you this is how it works, this is them telling you how they did it and what the results were. So it's a real cool montage. I call it the testimonial mixtape of things that happened for these folks. And I quite literally just reached out to every client I've had in the last year and said, "Hey, who wants to come on here and have this conversation?" And there's 9 wonderful people that have had great results. Some are newer into it. Some have been around for a while, but they share their experience. So if you're on the fence and not sure that online personal training is for you, it's well worth listening through this, because this will give you a lot of ideas. You're going to hear messages that resonate with you. And I'm going on vacation. As you heard in the hello, I'm going on a trip, and I'm going to take time off. I'm not going to be onboarding a bunch of clients. I'm not going to be worried about all that. And even though I never have a bunch of clients, I only have a handful at any given time, no more than a handful or so. And the goal is really to take some time off, But if you want to do this, if you want to come in, message me on Facebook, email me, alan@40plusfitnesspodcast.com. Get in touch with me. There's also contact details on the website. So you can go to the website, 40plusfitnesspodcast.com, and just get in touch with me. Let's spend some time talking about it. And if you don't get in touch with me real soon here, it's probably going to be October before I can start working with you, because I really don't want to have a huge workload. This is family time. This is me time. And I'm going to do that. So I've never done that. I mean, it's like in so long since I got married, which was 8 years ago, I haven't had a time where I just took off and disappeared. And so I'm going to work really hard. I will be there for my clients. So if you're a client, don't worry. I'm still going to answer. I'm still going to be there. I'm still going to do my client stuff. But that's not where I spend most of my time. All my podcasts will have been done. So I'm not planning on doing much of that either. So, we'll get this done one way or another. But I just wanted to let you know that I am taking some time off to refresh, revive, listening to my own voice say to me what I need to do, and then actually following that advice. And then I'll come back and I'll hire a coach, and we'll get back on the podcast, and I'll continue to try to bring you the best guests that I possibly can, week in and week out.
That sounds awesome. Well, congratulations again, Alan, on your 500th episode, and enjoy your vacation. You certainly deserve some time off for sure.
All right. Well, I hope you guys all enjoy this episode. Thank you. I'd like to share with you the 7 health and fitness truths I've learned over 500 episodes of 40 Plus Fitness. I call this your wellness systems. S, start in your head, mindset. Everything starts with good mindset. If you keep listening to this podcast all the way to the end, you're going to hear some of my clients talk about their journey with 40 Plus Fitness and some of the things that they've gone through. And you're going to hear a lot of them talk about mindset. One of them even called me like a psychologist. I am, for the record, not a psychologist, but they recognize that sometimes they're their own worst enemy. And if we don't get out of our way by clearing our mindset, getting the right mindset, we're not going to get where we need to be. You'll also hear them talk about things they learned or being concerned about things. That's another part of this. To change, you have to be open to change. You have to open your mind to learn things and potentially unlearn some things. And you'll hear that not everyone believes in themselves. So we have to get rid of those limiting beliefs. We have to overcome them, and we overcome them through mindset practices. I hope you'll listen to the end, because it will solidify how important most of the things that we're going to talk about mindset and health and fitness are. To change your mindset, you have to set your GPS. G is for grounding, and that's where you set your vision and your why. Your why has to be really, really emotional, and your vision has to be clear enough so that you know that you're moving in the right direction. P, personalize things. Know where you are now, and set yourself up for having the goals in place, the SMART goals, so that you can take those steps in the right direction and know that you're progressing. And then the S in GPS stands for being self-aware. What obstacles are ahead of you, and what pace should you go? Knowing yourself, knowing what's happened to you in the past is going to allow you to see what could happen to you in the future. And so you have to look at where you are, and you have to get your head right. And you do that by setting your GPS. And if you have a well-set GPS, it makes this a lot easier down the road. So how do we do this? Well, oddly enough, mindset is less about what you do. It's about slowing down. It's about being present. You have to get clear about where you're going, where you are, why you want to be there, and then you set your pace. And you can only do that if you slow down and put those pieces in place. Too many people want to come in and start with strategies. They want to come in and start with a diet. What diet should I be on? What exercises should I be doing? And that's the wrong question. The first question you have to ask is my mindset where it needs to be for me to be successful in the end? So S, start with your head, mindset. Y is you. And this whole journey is about you. You have to do the work. You have to drive the car. There's no Scotty on the Enterprise that can beam you where you need to be. You've got to get in the car and you've got to drive there. And you have to do it for yourself. No one else can do this for you. Even if you hire a coach, even if you get the best diet in the world, you have to do it. You have to act. So you, first and foremost, stands for you have to do the work. And the other part of you is that you are unique. So what works for me may not work for you. So you have to do a self-experiment to find out what your solution is. We call it N equals 1, and that's in the sampling language where the sample size for our test is N. N equals 1, so you are the one. You are the one you're working for. You're the one that needs to do this. And so through practice, trial and error, you're going to learn things that work, and you're going to learn things that don't. So you keep what works, and you ditch what doesn't. Now, how do you do this? I'm going to say oddly enough again, you might also be the problem. Most of the people have knowledge. They know what to do. They just haven't done it. They haven't put it in place, and they haven't been consistent. They lack the determination and the discipline to stick with it. So you might need help. That self-awareness we talked about in the S, setting your GPS, you have to be self-aware. You have to know, okay, is this something I can do on my own? And if you struggled in the past, you're going to struggle again. And that's something for you to strongly consider as far as either hiring a coach or having an accountability partner. So you have to decide when it's the right time for you to do this, because you have to do the work and you have to stick with it, and you have to find what works for you. And if you don't do that, you're not going to be successful. So all of this starts with mindset and then you. S, sustainable lifestyle. If you ate nothing but bananas for a month, you'll lose weight. But then what? If you went on a 30-day no sugar challenge, you'll lose weight. But then what? The problem with most diets is they're not made to be sustainable. They're not sustainable ways of eating. Nobody's going to want to stay in Weight Watchers for the rest of their lives. But that's how their program is set up. You go in for your weigh-ins, you count your points, and you go and go and go and go. Now, my clients learn that you don't actually have to be on 24/7, 365. But you know where the road is, and you know when you're taking a detour, and you know that you have to get back on the road. That's sustainable. It allows for those moments when you have to do something off plan, and then you can get back on plan. Okay? And for a lot of people, when they go off plan because they don't know where their road is, they don't get back to it soon enough, and they gain all the weight back. And you don't want to do that. So how do we do this? Well, the first thing you do is you make the road very easy to drive. If you have very good expectations and you pick a pace that makes sense for you, you'll get there. I had a potential client reach out to me one time, and we were chatting on email, and she told me, I need to lose 70 pounds. And so I said, okay, how long would you like to take to lose that 70 pounds? Now, I'm thinking in my head, that's at least a year-long project for most people, maybe a little bit longer for her. I don't know. She was a little older. And so I said, okay, what's your thoughts on that? And she said, well, my daughter's wedding is in 2 months, and I want to lose 70 pounds before her wedding. Now, could I have helped her lose 70 pounds before her wedding? Probably not, but we could have gotten really close. But then what would have happened? She would have gained it all back because she wouldn't have set herself into a sustainable lifestyle that was built on habits that she could keep for the rest of her life. We would have just put her on a killer diet, had her busting her butt. If she started to plateau, we would push harder, we would go lower, and that's not sustainable. That's not how we build a program that works for you. You have to find a sustainable lifestyle, a way of eating that you can eat almost all the time with the occasional detours. So maybe you want to go spend a weekend or a week at Disneyland or Disney World, and that's your splurge week. Fine, go. That's your detour. The road is right there when you get back the next Monday, and you have to get back on it. But you do that because you know there's a sustainable lifestyle, and you've built a road that you know where it is and you know how to stay on it when you need to. This episode of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast is sponsored by Haka Life Nutrition, the maker of GLX-3. You know the benefit of omega-3, reduced inflammation, which helps with joint pain and heart health. And you know you're probably not getting enough from your diet. But then you read about the mercury in fish, or how the fish oil supplement you bought at Costco or Walmart might be oxidized and rancid. Not good. Then you look into a plant-based solution and find it isn't very bioavailable, or krill oil, which is much more expensive and isn't really sustainable. GLX-3 is very different. It's from sustainably farmed, green-lipped mussels in New Zealand. The 17 omega-3s found in green-lipped mussels include ETA, which is not found in any fish oil. What is ETA? Not to bore you with the science, but it has been shown to be very effective at reducing inflammation and pain. Haka Life Nutrition has paired this oil with New Zealand olive oil and vitamin E to make a very unique omega-3 supplement. I think it's brilliant. Mussels are at the bottom of the food chain and have a short lifespan, so they aren't as susceptible to mercury contamination. And they don't starve out other species when they're farmed in open water. Haka Life Nutrition is meticulous about their sourcing and encapsulation of GLX-3. Each bottle is traceable all the way back to the place, date, and time of harvesting to ensure you get the best quality omega-3 product on the market. They offer a full 90-day guarantee. Go to hakalife.com/40plus and use the discount code 40plus to get a buy one, get one free deal on your first order, which gives you a 2-month starter supply. GLX-3 is my go-to omega-3 supplement going forward. It can be yours too by going to hakalife.com/40plus and be sure to use the discount code 40plus for the BOGO deal. T, training. This one has actually shifted quite a bit for me in the past 6 years. I used to really think that function was everything. I would see people doing things that weren't functional in the gym, just getting big and bulky, and that wasn't really doing them a ton of good. I would see people doing things that weren't really changing their body, and again, just really not functionally good. But I've come to realize over the last 6 years that I am kind of unique myself. And a lot of people aren't like me. A lot of people aren't driven to go to the gym and get sweaty every day and do those kind of things for particular fitness purposes. So they wouldn't do it. They just would not go to the gym straight away. And so what do? Well, start with something that's enjoyable. And a lot of people need to do that. That can be going for a walk in nature. It can be getting on the floor and playing with your grandchild. Things that are functional can also be fun, but don't necessarily think you have to do a bunch of stuff you don't enjoy just for the sake of function. Now, later on, what you're going to find is that you need to start looking at the relevance of your fitness. So it's great you can get on the ground and play with your granddaughter and get back up, but your grandkid's going to get bigger and you're going to need to be able to lift her and move her around and do different things with them. So you're going to need to get stronger. You also know as you get older, certain things are going to happen. You're going to lose some muscle. You're going to lose some bone density. Those can be some problems that will keep you from doing the things that you love. So maybe putting in some training that will help you maintain strength, that will help you maintain bone density are worth it. Now, I've said often on the show, and I've said it often in many places, that I want to be able to wipe my own butt when I'm 105. So that means my legs need to be strong enough for me to stand up off of a toilet after I squat down. I have to have the dexterity to turn around and do the business. I have to be able to take care of myself. And to do that, I might have to do some exercises that are just not all that fun for me, but they are relevant to who I want to be. And they bring me joy because they allow me to do things that I enjoy. So if you're struggling with a fitness program, it's easy. Go ahead and start with something you enjoy. And then as you're building your fitness, start looking for those relevant things that you need to do the things that you enjoy doing or that maybe you're no longer able to do. I've seen clients that wanted to go back and play tennis, go back and play tennis. So it's doable. All of this is doable. You can go back. You'll hear one of my clients later on talk about how he's doing things he could do 10 years ago. He feels younger. And that's part of what training and losing weight can really do for you. So as you're looking at training, and if you don't like going to the gym, if you don't like resistance exercise, if you don't like sweating, at least start with something you do enjoy that's going to give you some fitness benefit, and then proceed from there. Eat real food. This is one of the most important ones out there. They're all important, don't get me wrong, but this is where so many people screw up. There's food, and then there's stuff we've been told is food. And I'll say in the grocery store, 99% of what's in there is not real food. They don't call it a food store. They call it a grocery store. And then that's probably why. They want to put other stuff in there that's not real food. So, what is real food? Real food was alive at one time. Typically, when you buy real food, there's no ingredient list required. If you go and you buy a chicken leg, you just bought a chicken leg. If you buy a chicken breast, you bought a chicken breast. And the only thing they have to tell you is that skin on, skin off, bone in, bone out. That's all they really have to tell you. Are you buying a chicken breast fillet, or are you buying a full chicken breast? That's all that's really out there. Now, any other thing that's on that label where they're selling you the chicken is seller stuff. That's marketing stuff. So how all these other things that are on there typically are just meant to market to you, all natural, vegetarian chicken, whatever. Okay, but real food was alive at one time. Typically, real food does not come in a box, bag, jar, or can. Now, there are some exceptions: frozen vegetables, frozen fruits. Those are fine. Sardines and tuna and salmon come in a can. Those can be fine. So, just realize, yes, there's some violations of the rule, but I would say 99% of the time, if it's in a box, bag, can, or jar, it's not real food, and you should stay away from it. And that typically means the perimeter of a grocery store, or better yet, go to your farmer's market. The better it lived, the better you will. Okay, now plants just grow. Now they need to be nurtured, they need to be taken care of, but they've done so much with our plants through GMO, through crossbreeding, through all this different stuff that they've really, and the way that they're farming them in the soil, they've depleted the soil. So plants today aren't as nutritious as they were at one time. So look for opportunities to buy plants with no insecticides, that they were ripe when they were picked. And the easiest way to do that is to focus on organic and go with local and in-season fruits and vegetables. That's the best way to do it. It can be a little bit more expensive, but go to the farmer's market. You'll find some deals. Go to the grocery store when they're doing their clearance deals. Talk to the person in produce and ask them, when they put fresh stuff out, when do they change it out and take the older stuff out? You can probably find some deals that way, but look for the organic whenever you can, because that doesn't have the insecticides on it. And typically it's non-GMO. Okay, meat was an animal, or egg, or something like that, or fish. Look for animals and fish that were free, that were not farmed. Make sure that if you do buy them, try to go with organic, because then they won't have the hormones to make them gargantuan, and they'll have limited antibiotics. Okay, they can give them some antibiotics when they're sick, but unfortunately, with most of the farming out there, the animals are always sick, so they're always giving them antibiotics. It's almost like a precursor, almost like a vaccine. They're going to give them this antibiotic just to keep the animal healthy, keep it alive. And that's just sad. So try to avoid those things. When you are buying food, sometimes you do need to buy something that's slightly processed. So an example would be hamburger meat is ground. That's technically a processing. But if you're buying good quality, it's the same. So look for non-processed or minimally processed foods. And just realize that most food goes bad. If you leave it on your counter for a week, most real food is going to go bad. So yes, you can find it in the freezer section. Some of these things will last longer, like chicken breasts. You can buy in a freezer section, fruits and vegetables in a freezer section. But most things, if you leave them out on your counter for a week, they're gonna go bad. Whereas you can buy a box of Twinkies and leave it in your cabinet for decades, and it's going to be the same. It's not food, okay? And then finally, artificial colors, sweeteners, and preservatives are not meant for human consumption. They just aren't. They weren't in real food. And when you see natural on the label, or natural, let's say natural colors, natural flavorings, that type of thing, all that really means is that it exists in nature. That's not necessarily how they made it or how they got it. Okay. So a lot of these things that they put in the stuff they call food is basically, the FDA hasn't really studied it. So they just say, okay, based on what we know, it's generally accepted as safe, or generally recognized as safe, grass. And the bad part about that is we don't know. It's just okay, we don't think there's anything wrong with it. Let's experiment on the human race and see what happens. And so a lot of these things, there was a big outcry about saccharin, but saccharin's still on the market. There's things they know about red dye number, whatever. They know it's bad for us, but they don't take it out of the food. They label it as a carcinogen. And that's the funny thing, is a lot of these additives are on the carcinogen list. The FDA just doesn't know that they're bad enough to cause cancer, but they do know that they're cancer causing. So just recognize that all this fake food may seem cheap, but it's really messing with you. So it's worth investing a little bit more and eat real food. Moderation threshold. Okay. Now, a lot of people may not know this, but the 80-20 rule that we hear so much about is called Pareto's Law. And what it really says is, when you're doing something, a business is running, or you're investing, or anything else, is that you're getting 80% of your results from 20% of your effort. And the principle in that is that if you focus on what those 20% things are, and you eliminate some of the other things, you can potentially improve your performance, be it athletic, be in business, or whatever. That's the Pareto's Law. But in the diet culture, they've taken 80-20 to basically be this idea of moderation, where if you're on 80% of the time, you're going to do well. And that is not true for most people, particularly people over 40. Okay. It's wrong for several reasons. Let me go through a few of these. Okay. First, most people aren't really good at gauging 20%. I was talking to a client, and she was like, I'm really, really good during the week. She said, I plan my breakfast, plan my dinners. I have my pre-cooked meals. Everything's on. And then I get to Friday night and we go out to eat, and I have a few glasses of wine, and then I have dessert, and then I blow the whole weekend. She said, so, I'm at 80-20. I feel pretty good about that. And I'm like, no, you're not at 80-20. You've messed up 3 days and you've done well for 4. So you're more at 57-43. I mean, you're barely past break even. So that's why you're not seeing results. Okay. So most people think 80-20 means taking the weekend off and then doing well during the week, but that's not anywhere close to 80-20. Another problem that comes up with this approach of 80-20 is that they'll take that one step forward and then they'll take a step back. So an example would be, let's say you can go on a 500 calorie deficit for 8 days. And if we go calories in, calories out, a pound is about 3,500 calories. So you're going to lose just a little more than a pound. But then you go way over for 2 days, like we say, with the wine and the desserts, and then whatever goes on those other days. And then there's also probably going to be some additional water because you're eating foods that are inflammatory. And so what ends up happening is you gain that pound or maybe even 2 pounds back. So that step forward and that step back, and you're a week down the road and you've actually accomplished nothing, is really disheartening. It's really hard to keep motivated and stay determined and be persistent and consistent when all you see is a pound gone and a pound back. And that's what's causing it. The other issue with this is that weight loss is more than that calories in, calories out. It's more than how much you eat. It has a lot to do with the food choices you make. Are you getting the right macros for what you're trying to do? Are you getting the vitamins and minerals that you need so that you're fully nourished, so that your body feels safe, so your body feels comfortable to let some of that weight go? If your body feels like it's starving for something, you're going to eat more until you get what your body feels like it's missing. So making sure you're getting good, nutritious food all the time is going to help you move forward. And if you're trying to do the 80-20 and you're not getting the nutrition for 20% of the time, your body's going to want to overeat a lot more. And that's going to fade in way after you've done your 20% off. Also, 80-20 keeps your addictions going. So if you're addicted to sugar and you know you're addicted to sugar, you know, sweet tooth, you say, I'm a sweet tooth, I love the sugar. If you know you're addicted to sugar, 80-20 can't work for you. Would you tell an alcoholic to drink 20% of the time and not drink 80% of the time? How well would that work for them? You wouldn't. We're doing the same thing with sugar. It's like, I'll have my 20% on my sugar, but then you stay addicted. You still have that addiction. And it just makes it so much harder to make this a sustainable lifestyle. So if you want to make a change, you've got to get closer to the high 90s. And high 90s sounds like a lot, but it's one cheat meal per month. Or you could take a whole day off per quarter. And so that's not a lot of time, but if you're trying to lose weight, you need to be in the high 90s, okay? 80-20 might work for you once you get to maintenance. So when you get to a goal weight and you feel good and you're putting on muscle and you're getting stronger and things are working for you, 80-20 might be just fine. But when you're trying to lose the weight, you need to be in the high 90s. It's really the only way moderation is going to work for you at all. S, serve yourself and others. Okay. We need relationships, we need purpose, and we need passion. It's why we exist. It's why we're on this earth. We need those to be whole. But you can't sacrifice without serving yourself. And so many people, particularly moms, they were bred on this, and dads too, because I was working. My thoughts were I had to provide. I had to have this wealth, and I had to be able to take care of my family. And so I was sacrificing self-care for something else. And we all do it at some level. And so the first step in serving yourself is self-care. Making sure you're doing the things your body needs. And the second step is then nurturing relationships. If you have a good relationship, you nurture it, you take care of it, you water it. If you have a bad relationship, you prune it, you cut it away. Now, that's not always possible, but you need to be thinking about how the relationships in your life are impacting you and your ability to perform self-care. So this can be stress reduction or stress management, getting good quality sleep, having a gratitude practice, trying to find joy in your life, and then awe and inspiration, getting out and doing things that are exciting and fun for you. Life is meant to be lived. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be full of joy. And the big part of the wellness model that a lot of us skip over because we're too busy with the weight loss and the exercise, we skip over actually enjoying ourselves, making the journey fun. If you looked at a trip and you were going to drive from California to Texas, you might dread that trip as it's a long drive. For me, I'm about to travel back to the United States to see family. And our total driving mileage, if you just plot it out on Google Maps, is over 3,700 miles. Okay. And we're going to do that in a little over 3.5 weeks. So that's a lot of driving. But we're going to get to see our whole family. We're going to see everybody in our family, parents, grandparents, children, grandchildren, all of it. We're going to be able to do all of that. And that's why this is important to us. We want to have those moments. Now, what are some other things that are going on? Well, I have to stop sometimes. So I've picked stopping points to places that my wife and I have never been in the hopes that we can go do something together and have some fun ourselves. So we'll potentially stop in Memphis. We'll potentially stop in. There's a little town in Ohio, and then there's another little town in Georgia that we'll stop in and have a nice afternoon or dinner, do those types of things. So make sure you're doing things for yourself as well as helping others. We need the relationships. We need good relationships, and we need the passion and the promise and everything in our lives. So live today, but do it in a way that's healthy. Do it in a way that brings you joy, and do it in a way where you can feel good about the journey. So let me summarize this. Your wellness systems start in your head, mindset. It really is that important. This is the first thing. If you don't get this right, you will struggle. Why? You have to do the work, and you have to find what works for you. It's a journey. It's an experiment. It's something you have to do, but you have to do it. You have to be active. You have to make these things happen. They won't just happen. You can't buy a diet book and lose weight. You have to do the diet, but you have to do something that's going to work, and you need to do something that's going to work for the long term, which is the next S. Find your sustainable lifestyle. This is not a short-term fix. You don't do it and then you're done. It's all a part of a journey that's going to get you to a better place, and then the next best place, and then the next best place. And you're going to always be doing this, but you want something that's sustainable, so it's not this lose it and gain it, and lose it and gain it, and lose it and gain it. That's not fun. That's not sustainable. You need a sustainable lifestyle to carry you through the whole journey of the rest of your life. T is for training. Okay, you make it fun. Make it fun. Absolutely make it fun. And then make it relevant. So find the functional things that are going to make your life better. They're going to make you able to do the things you enjoy doing for as long as you want to do it. My grandfather stopped playing golf when he was 80. He loved golf. He lived on a golf course for most of his life. And here he was, unable to play golf. And it was really because he didn't do anything to keep his fitness, and he lost what he loved. And maybe you feel like you're losing something that you loved, or have lost something that you love. Try to get yourself back into a fitness mode that gets you there. So train fun, but also train relevant. E, eat real food. Okay. If it comes from a bag, jar, can, or box, it's probably not real food. And I recognize I say that different every single time I say it, but it's true. Eat real food. That's what our bodies were designed to consume and get our nutrition from. So get the best quality real food you can find. M, moderation threshold. 80-20 won't cut it if you're trying to lose weight. You need to be in the high 90s to be successful. The higher in the 90s you are, the more successful you're going to be. The more often you do that moderation thing, the slower your pace. So maybe in your sustainable lifestyle, you do need a slower pace because you're not going to hit the high 90s. Maybe you're just going to hit the 90s. Maybe you are going to be in a high 80s. Knowing yourself and putting yourself in the right place means you can set your moderation threshold to go the pace that's right for you. And then the final S, serve yourself and others. And really kind of in that order, make sure you're doing the things that you need to do for yourself, and make sure that you're living the life you should. All right, let's start this off with a little bit about the history of the 40 Plus Fitness podcast. Some of you have probably been listening since the very beginning, but many have not and have found us along the way. I actually started working on this podcast in June of 2015. And what a lot of people don't know is that I actually had a podcast before this one called Internal Audit Mastery. That one, I did 15 episodes, and I was only getting about 600 downloads per episode. But because I really didn't know the industry, I thought I was doing terrible, when in fact I was actually doing quite well. But I burned out and decided to go ahead and drop that podcast. And then a few months later, decided to go ahead and start working on the 40 Plus Fitness podcast. So I started working on it in June, and we launched our first episode in December, actually on December 6th, 2015. Now, as I was getting ready for this podcast, because that's, you're talking about a whole 6 months. What was I doing during that 6 months? Well, I was doing coaching. I signed up for coaching with Podcast Paradise. I signed up for a mastermind, and I was investing in growing the Facebook page, which was great for the launch, but Facebook shortly thereafter killed pages unless you want to pay to play. But I did build a really nice page and had that all built up. Now, we launched on December 6th. And my goal was to make a category called New and Noteworthy on, it was on Apple. I wanted to make New and Noteworthy by January 1st, and I actually made that happen. Since then, I've attended 2 podcast movements and Keto Fest twice. And I did that in order to make the podcast even better. I met a lot of really cool people. Learned a lot about podcasting, learned a lot about the business, learned a lot about nutrition. And that really gave me a lot of information to make the podcast much, much better as we've gone along. In fact, I can't even listen to the first few episodes without cringing. I've gotten a little bit better at this. So when I first launched, my goal was to have 5 episodes per week, and each day would have its own theme. And then I even brought on clients. I started out with Sandra, and she dropped out of training early, so I didn't get the full 10 weeks with her. Then I started working with John, who I went to high school with, and his wife, Tammy. And I worked with them for a few weeks, 10 weeks, and they had great results. So it was really good practice. It kind of was proof that what I was doing was going to work for not just me, but other people. And I did that. Those 5 episodes per week for about 4 months. And let me tell you, it was a killer. I then broke that down to 3, and I was less stringent on how long those episodes took, which made it a little easier. But then I just decided, okay, I've done enough. I've learned enough. I've got my reps in, and now I'm just going to do 1 per week. And I started that at the beginning of 2018. I decided I wasn't even going to do bonus episodes. I used to do 1 a week, and then I'd throw in some bonuses. But during 2018, I was working on writing my book, and I just decided I didn't have time to do 3 per week. So I dropped it down to 8 to 1 per week, and that served me very, very well. I enjoy doing that. And then on episode 451, which was September 14th of 2020, we brought on Rachel Everett. I refer to as Raz on the podcast. She's now my co-host. And you're going to get some inside the scenes stuff if you're on the Facebook group. You can go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/group. And Rachel and I, in recording some of this episode that you're going to hear today, we did a live to kind of show the setup of how this all works, how we put these things together. Okay, so that's kind of the history. The podcast has been around for about 6 years. And in that running, we were the first podcast out there for health and fitness for people over 40. I'm now happy to say there are several, but we were the first, and we've been running the longest, and we're also the largest. We get, with over 500 episodes, we've had over 2.5 million downloads, and every episode now gets at least 5,000 downloads. There are very few that fall below that line, and some that are very much above that line. And then the other thing is I've had on 311 guests out of those 500 shows. So it's still a lot of solo shows, a lot of other stuff that's going on. But that's a lot of interviews when you consider that I actually read all of their books. I read every one of those books to make sure that I'm pulling out nuggets of value for you each and every week. And I make it easier on my guests because they know where we want to go. They know we want to talk, and we're talking about what's in their book, which is really, really great. One of the, and now I want to kind of shift and we'll talk about what goes into making a podcast, because I know when I first got into it, I thought it was just as easy, okay, there's audio files, just put them together. But to get the sound, to get everything going, to get the right tone, to get the right people, to get everything working, there are quite a few moving parts. The question I get the most when people ask about the podcast is, how do you find your guests? Well, I have a little inside secret that I'll share with you. I go to Amazon, and that's where I love to get my guests. I will go on there and I will look for upcoming books that are coming out. And if the topic looks interesting, the title's interesting, I read a little bit about it, read a little bit about the author, and I say, okay, this would be a good fit. You can actually sort Amazon and find books that are coming out in the future. And so that's what I'll do. Or if I have a particular topic that someone wants me to talk about, you've asked on the Facebook group or you've messaged me directly and said, hey, could you cover this or help me with this? I will actually reach out for people to do those discussions. But really, one of the other ways that I get it, it's kind of amazing when you start getting a little bit bigger in this industry, you start showing up on certain lists, is I get over 4,000 direct inquiries each year for people that want to be on the show. Either their publicist is reaching out for them or they're reaching out. And to put that in context, I really only have about 40 guests per year. So you're looking at about 100 to 1 shot of being the guest that I'm going to bring on. But that said, through direct solicitation, Denise Austin's PR person reached out to me. Tony Horton's PR person reached out to me. And so I get a lot of direct inquiries, and I basically can't even read them all because there's about a 10 a day. It's kind of crazy, 10 to 11 a day, sometimes more. But I basically put those all in a folder, and then if I'm hurting for a guest, I might scan back over the last several and see if I see something that was interesting. Another place where I find topics is in forums. So I'll be on MyFitnessPal, or I'll be on our Facebook group, or a lot of other little Facebook groups, sometimes Reddit. And if I see a question that's really interesting or a topic that's really interesting, I'll dive in. But my favorite way to get topics is when you ask me a question. If you message me or you ask a question in the Facebook group, I can come up with a topic that's just for you, because guess what? It's not just for you. It actually is for everybody. So if you have questions, you have topics you want me to cover, reach out. Now, some people will then try to give me particular guests to go after, and I often do, but there are certain guests that are just not interested in podcasts unless you're Joe Rogan, and they're just they feel they're bigger. They are on the TV markets. They feel the TV is a better exposure for them, and they really just don't want to give a podcast the time of day. And so there's some I'm just not going to be able to get, and I just have to live with that. There's some I thought I couldn't get. I reached out to Dr. Axe at one point, and he didn't want to be on the show, and then I don't know, a year later, I reach out again, and he came on the show. So I will keep trying. If I see a book that's interesting, a bestseller, if I see something you've asked me about in the past, I find a book on it, I'm going to cover it. So that's really how I get guests. Now, someone asked in the Facebook group, do I always agree with the guest? And have there been any something else going on? And my gist is this: I love having on guests that have different opinions than me, because I always learn something. Sometimes I learn I'm right, but I always learn something. So if I feel the guest can bring value to the podcast, I'll definitely have them on. I had an agent reach out to me one time, a PR person, and they wanted to they reached out about a book, and the title of the book, the subtitle, and everything about the description was that you could eat anything you wanted. You just had to pay attention, a little bit of attention to your portion sizes and your calories in, calories out, and you're going to lose weight. And it's true. You're just not going to keep it off. So when I mailed them back and I said, I'm going to ask these kind of questions because everybody's tried calories in, calories out and failed at it. So why do they think it would work now? I never heard back from that PR person. So they obviously didn't want to get into a contentious situation. So they didn't. And then I was reading one book by an author that I had actually reached out to. And when I got his book, and pretty much he was just kind of regurgitating the probably the textbook he had in college that was based on the standard American diet, the government guidelines for what we should be eating. I canceled the interview. I just said, no, I am not going to get him on here when he's talking about eating basically the food, my plate, or whatever they want to call it these days, the government standard for what to eat. I was like, no, that's not going to fly for me. And I like the guy. So I definitely didn't want to get into a confrontation with him. So I just canceled and didn't have that interview. And then I've had guests on that I brought on, and I gave them some questions, some points ahead of time, and they wrote out their entire answer. And you could tell they were reading. It was really painful, but she had some good content. She had some good information, so I kept that podcast. And then one time I did have a guest on, and we were talking about a topic that, one, I wasn't really comfortable with, but I thought, okay, I'll learn something. And I did. Unfortunately, something was wrong with my recording equipment, and it didn't record my side of the conversation. So there was really no way for me to use what was there. And her side of the conversation was really messed up too. I could hear her, but it wasn't quality, and I wasn't going to put it on the podcast, and I just told her I had to cancel. And because, again, the content wasn't something I was completely comfortable with, I just opted to not do that one. I went on to a different topic and a different guest. So there have been some times that the interviews don't go the way as planned. When I had Dr. Fung and Jimmy Moore on my podcast together for the first time they'd ever been on someone else's podcast together, it happens to also be one of the biggest podcasts that we've had ever released. It did over 157,000, I think, on YouTube alone. It was huge. When I had them on, the UPS driver pulled up in his truck and our dogs went ballistic. 3 of them just as loud, and they would not stop barking. He was walking up and walking back. And so I had to stop, pause, and go. And then another time on that same episode, we got to the end and I pushed the end of the recording and we kept talking. We just kept talking. And Dr. Fung the gold that was coming out of his mouth was just awesome. And then he was talking and he said, "Did you catch that on tape too?" And I'm like, "No." So what I did is I summarized what he had talked about in that episode. So you still got it, but you just didn't get it from Dr. Fung. Now, I used to interview using Skype and a thing called Ecamm Call Recorder. That was the way when I first started. And then there was some rumblings that Skype was changing their model of the way they work, and as a result, Ecamm might not work. And I really couldn't take that chance. There was an up-and-coming company called Zoom. This is way before the pandemic, so this is way before anybody really even knew who they were. It was a point where they were getting customers one by one. They literally called me, and I got on a demo with them to discuss the software and discuss whether it was going to work for my podcast and whether I want to use it for other things. But I use Zoom, and you can record the calls. And if I'm going to do something that's solo or the bits that are just me talking, then I'll use GarageBand, and it's free on my Mac computer, and it does really well. When I first started doing my recording, I was using Audible. And so if you listen to the early ones, and then, not Audible, I'm sorry, Audacity. I was using Audacity when I first started, and I actually got a review that my voice was a little tinny. And so I looked into other recordings. I started recording on GarageBand, and it's much better. I use an Audio-Technica ATR 2100. It's about $99 on Amazon. I own 3 of them. Some of them I like to travel with. I'll have one when I travel if I need to do any recording on the road. And then I have one here in my recording area, my desk at the gym, and I have one at home on my desk. So I have these around so that I have a microphone, and they plug right into the computer. So it's not any other kind of soundboards and all of that other kind of stuff. I kind of try to keep it simple. Okay. When I first launched, I had a professional company go ahead and do my intro and outro music. I picked the music, got it. I paid, I think I was using Ben Sound. So it was just, I had to acknowledge him somewhere in the show notes, which I did. You'll see that. And I paid them a good bit of money to go ahead and build me out the intro and outro, because I wanted to sound professional when people were going. And as I said, I wanted to make new and noteworthy. I wanted to make this a professional podcast. And so I did do that investment. Really like those guys. But then because I'd gotten more comfortable recording, because I'd gotten more comfortable with sound editing, I actually did the stuff. I picked different music and paid for it. And this time I did it myself. I recorded it myself, and I like it. I've asked on Facebook group if anybody really wants to change it, and I didn't get much feedback that anybody did. So I've just kept it, and it works. You know who I am, you know what's going on, and you know when the show's over. As far as sponsorships, I have started doing them a little bit more regularly. With the downturn of COVID, I lost a lot of my clients. They just couldn't afford personal training during a period when they weren't making any money or were making a lot less money. And so I lost some clients, and I needed to pay the bills. I'm the breadwinner here. So I started taking on sponsorships. And the way that basically works is I have some resources I go to, some I try to go to directly, some come to me directly. But I go out and I find companies that I actually believe in their products. I think what they're selling, the services or the goods that they're selling, I can believe in them. And I will go ahead and I will try the product. In fact, I'm trialing a product right now from Timeline that's called, I forget, MitoPure. Yeah, MitoPure. And it's basically food for your mitochondria. And so I've been trying theirs. And later this week, I will record a short bit for that pre-recorded sponsorship. and I will put that, and I'll send that over for their approval. Once they approve it, then they've paid for a certain number of episodes, and then that will go into each of those episodes. So when you hear a sponsorship, if the product's interesting to you, use the link that I give, and use the coupon code when you buy it. That's the only way they're going to know that I sent you there. So if you go to the link that they send you to, we know you went there. If you buy it, use the coupon code, they know you bought it. And that's one of the really cool ways you can support the show. If you're needing something and we're talking about it on the show, it really does help me if you're using the sponsors. Okay. Now, when Rachel and I do our sessions, we usually do those on Monday afternoon. We'll record that hello segment and the discussion segment. We do that on Zoom. I record those. Actually, again, if you go to the Facebook group, you'll see back about a few weeks ago, you'll see where we did kind of a live of us doing exactly that, recording one of those sessions. And so it's cool because I'll do the interview or I'll do the solo episode, and then I'll share that with her, and then she'll listen to it. We'll talk about some points we want to go into, and then we'll do the recording part. And that all takes us however long, usually less than 30 minutes, but we end up talking about other stuff because we're friends. Anyway, I do that on Zoom. Okay, so when I'm all done with this, I have several files. Okay, I have the interview file, I have the intro file, I have the outro stuff, all those different files, the sponsor file. So I'll end up anywhere from 9 to 13 files. I send it off to a company called Bear Value. I think they bought the company I originally started with when I launched. I was using a guy named Gabriel. Didn't really have a name for his company, but I think he sold his client list, or he got absorbed by Bear Value. Anyway, I load the files up for them. They do the audio processing. So they put all those files together, they level them out, they make them sound good. And if somebody said something they shouldn't, then I can ask them to bleep it out. They put all that together for me and then send me a message to let me know that file's available. Once the file's available, I download it, and then I upload it into a site called Happy Scribe. Now, Happy Scribe has an AI, so they basically spit back a translated version of my a transcribed version of that of that full episode. Okay, I take that then and I message my VA, Angela. So Angela's in the Philippines. Thank you, Angela, if you're listening to this. I really appreciate you. I could not do this without you. Angela will go through and she will clean it all up, and she'll put the speakers on there. So it makes it really easy for me to then post it when it's time. So I end up with a full transcription of the full episode. And then she's also been helping me with doing some, because I do capture the video version of the recording when I'm interviewing the guests now. So on the interview shows, there's a video, and Angela's been helping me with the cutting those up into little clips. I share some of those on the Facebook group. So 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/group. You can see some of those guests, see some of the videos, just like golden nugget little clips, usually 2 or 3 minutes, 4 minutes long, something like that. And then I've also started a new YouTube channel, 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/clips. And so you can go out there and see some of these. They're just kind of high points of the conversations I've had with these guests, give you an idea. And you can see how it was a Zoom call. Basically now I put it out there. Angela cleans it up, makes it look nice, does a few little stuff with the cover and all that, makes it really nice. So you can check out those clips either on the Facebook group or out there on Clips. So now I have the audio file and I have the transcript. I take the audio file and I load it into a site called Libsyn. Libsyn is the largest podcasting host out there. And you want to put your podcast on a host separate from your website, because most web hosts are not built to stream sound, but Libsyn is. So that's all Libsyn does, is stream audio and video clips. So I use Libsyn. They were the largest, the best, probably the only one I'd ever even consider going to. There are other ones that are good too, but I trust Libsyn implicitly. They make it really, really easy. So I put the file on there. And then I have to write a little bit and do a little bit of stuff, put a little bit more content, like the covers and the things that you see, and then the information. If you look at what's, the show notes things and all that, I put all that in there. And then Libsyn literally pushes it everywhere. They build a feed and then they push it everywhere it needs to go. So the feed is built to go to Apple, Google, Amazon, Pandora, all of them. So anywhere you're listening to this podcast, it's Libsyn that helps me get it to you each week. And then I go to, I have my website, 40plusfitnesspodcast.com, is hosted on a service called Deluxe Hosting. They've been doing it for quite some time. I was with someone else, but they sold their shared hosting to this company. But Deluxe Hosting is actually even better than the one I was working with. I love these guys. They're real quick to help you out. They do a lot to really get us going. And then it's basically from that point, I put the show notes in there. So basically, a transcript, I just post, copy paste it all in there, make the post, make sure there's a link to the book, which again, if you want to buy the book, if you go through my link, I get a little help from Amazon. They give me a little kickback. It's like, I think it's 2 to 4%. So it's not a huge amount, but it's just a nice little bit to kind of help cover some of the basic costs. And then as far as promotion, Libsyn will post on my Facebook page, my Twitter, and my LinkedIn. So that's automatic. And then on the Facebook group and via email, I sometimes send out stuff to let you know that it's there. I'm actually not really good at promotion. I should be better. So that is one of my weaknesses. I should promote the podcast a lot more than I do. After that, I got into writing a book. So I got laid off in December of 2017. At the time, I had about 5 clients. So my goal was previously was to continue to work, do my thing, and just have some clients, build the podcast up, and then at age 55, I would retire, right? That was the plan. Well, I got laid off December of 2017, which was about 3 years earlier than I was intending to leave. So I decided, okay, I need to write a book. That's probably the best route for me right now, not having a job and being home. I have some time. And so I went ahead and if you listen to the last 5 episodes of 2017, I did 5 special episodes, the 26th through the 31st. That was actually the outline for my book. I literally wrote the outline and I recorded 5 episodes of what I wanted to have in the book. So it was really condensed version of my book that I did over 5 episodes. I hired a company called Scribe to coach me through writing a book. I'd never done it before. I'd never published. And so rather than chase publishers and try to get them, do a draft and try to send it to publishers and do that, because I wrote a novel back in the 90s and I did all that. And you hate getting those rejection letters. And I just really didn't want to go through a lot of that. And I didn't want to hire an agent. So I hired Scribe, a really cool company that helps you publish books. They were one of the first in the field. And they are probably still the biggest. But there are other companies that do that. But we needed some help with publishing the book. Now, the one thing that Scribe really didn't do a lot for was the marketing of the book. And that's why I joined the Author Academy. And they helped me with the promotion of the book and kind of making sure that it aligned with what I do as a business. So I already had the book written and was getting ready to publish it when I joined Author Academy to start working on the marketing. And I hired a friend, his name's Joel, to help me do the editing for the audiobook. So I had the text from the book, and then I went through and did a read. That was painful, but I read the book, I recorded it and gave it to Joel, and he put it together to get it in the format necessary for getting an audiobook version. And so the book went live November 2018, and it's available hardback, paperback, Kindle, Audible. You just search for the Wellness Roadmap on Amazon, and you'll find it. And then I started submitting myself for awards. I was a finalist at Author Academy Awards. You may remember Dr. David Friedman in his book, Food Sanity. He won. I had him on for episode 331. Well-deserved. David is a good friend now, and he deserves that. His book was awesome, and his speech during the award ceremony was pure gold. So I'm happy to have come in second place to David. And then I did win America's Best Book Award for Health and Fitness. So award-winning book. I'm really proud of that. And so it's really, that was a really good 2 years for me with regards to writing a book and then getting some awards and some credit for it. So now I want to talk a little bit about 40 Plus Fitness online personal training. Now, as I mentioned, I started the podcast at the point where I did know that I wanted to be a personal trainer. I had gotten my certifications earlier, really to train myself. I was traveling so much, I just really didn't have the time to go to a personal trainer. And I knew I needed some of that, some of the things that they'd be able to teach me. So my goal was to work on it for 5 years and then at 55, retire. But the layoff came about 3 years early. And so I was out and about. And I decided to go ahead and start training people. I already had a few clients when I got laid off, but I became an NSAM certified personal trainer, then went on and got the corrective exercise specialty. And then I've gone on to add fitness, nutrition, and behavior change from them. I also went and earned my certified functional aging specialist from FIA. And then I'm a level 2 online personal training coach with OTA, which is a group that trains online personal trainers. They've got the best program out there. And I've gone on to get the level 2 cert, which is the highest cert that they have available. And so for over 5 years, I've been doing challenges, some free and some paid. I have some do-it-yourself programs. I did one-on-one training, and then I did group training. So I was doing a lot of these different things, and I learned a ton. I've had hundreds and hundreds of people come through my programs, and as a result, I've learned a lot about online training. I've learned a lot about training in general, and a lot about what goes on when we're trying to lose weight when we're over 40. Now, of all the things I've done, I when I sat down and I was going through OTA 2, really, my online personal training 2. And as I was going through that, I built up a new program. I said, okay, I'm doing some group clients and I love that. I'm doing some one-on-one clients. I love that. But I saw weaknesses in both of those models. And I said, I can do this better. So I really took all those concepts, all those things, and I came up with my 12-week GAS program. Now, this program, paired with a legacy program for people that want to stick around, is a program that is very limited. It's a small group. I'm only going to have 12 participants going at any one time during the 12-week program. And it takes all those. And it's just really, really cool. And I don't want you to take my word for it. I'm really excited about it, but I want you to listen to what some of my clients have to say. Why did you decide now is the time to hire a trainer or coach?
I was trying to do things to better my health, and I just couldn't figure out a plan. So I would try a low calorie diet, and I would track and try to do that for a few days. Something would happen, then I would just give up and think, oh, maybe I need to do something else. Same thing with working out. I was working out, but I'd try to find, what should I be doing? I would do that for a little bit, not really knowing if that's what I should be doing. So I just felt like I didn't have a plan. So when I reached out to you and talked to you about a plan, and this is what we're going to do, and I'm going to be here to answer any questions. We're going to reevaluate if we need to make changes. I just felt like, okay, now I have a plan.
I chose to hire a coach or trainer because I felt like I needed more guidance in my exercise activities. I wasn't doing enough and I needed specific help with parts of my body. And I wanted to know for sure that I had good form.
Well, I wanted to take things to the next level. I reached a point in my fitness journey where I felt like that I needed some more professional guidance. After about 5 years of doing things on my own, I was ready to get some guidance to help me get to the next level.
I was interested in online training because I'd never done it before. And I'm not a gym person. I don't care too much for going to gyms. I've gone a few times and it's not really my thing. So I've actually had a personal trainer come to my house in the past for yoga practice, and another one we did Pilates. And then when I heard about online training, I thought, wow, I wonder how that would be. I wonder how that would work. And so I was interested, and I'm totally blind. So in the personal training sessions here at my house, the trainer would, like if we were doing a yoga pose, the trainer would get in the yoga pose and I could check her feet or her hands or her shoulders or whatever, and then practice the pose myself. And I wondered, how would this be for me in my particular case? How would that work online? And so it was an interesting concept. I wanted to explore it.
I've been floundering for 5 to 8 years, just kind of up and down in the same 10-pound range and not being able to find anything that would help me break through that. So I needed help.
Well, I had listened to the podcast and I'd tried all sorts of stuff by myself, and I kind of knew a lot about a lot, but I just wanted someone to help kind of focus my energies, or, focus the big rocks that I should be concentrating on, and kind of slap me on the back when I'm faltering and keep me on the straight and narrow.
I basically decided to do it because I felt that I couldn't do it on my own. I didn't have enough knowledge or the experience to keep up with it on a regular basis.
Well, I've always, I've been working out for most of my life. And I got to a point where I thought I needed help. And I've recognized your podcast well over a year ago. And I knew I wanted a coach, so I contacted you. And at that time, I was training for a bike race. And you gave me all the information, but we also agreed that you weren't a fit for me at this time. And while I was training, and at that time, it was like for 4 months or so, I was training for this bike race. You contacted me via email to see how it was going. And it always meant a lot to me that after I finished the race, I wanted to pursue something else. And I needed help with, the program that you have, GAS. I just really connected with that for exercising. I've never had a coach, a personal trainer, show me how to do the things. So you were able to help me with your programs and give me what I needed while I was traveling. I'm an airline pilot and I spend so much time on the road, and that's what I needed, is more of guidance.
Because I didn't have the confidence anymore that I could do it myself. I knew I needed professional guidance.
Why did you go with Coach Allen?
I've been listening to Alan's podcast for years. I just felt like he had a lot of experience working with people, and I just felt like once I talked to him, that he had a plan and he was going to help make my goals happen. And I just felt comfortable.
When I saw Coach Allen was online, I thought that what a neat idea. And some of the things that Coach Allen said were really great. You don't have to reschedule with your trainer, which my other trainer was notorious for. And you can do the workouts 24/7. So I thought it would be a good idea. Oh, the other reason for it too is that Allen works with people who are over 40, and I'm just way over 40.
I really liked what I heard on about 6 to 9 months worth of podcasts that I'd been listening to on a weekly basis. I felt like that Coach Allen provided a good balance between work and expectations, and did not promise what I consider to be unrealistic outcomes.
His book, The Wellness Roadmap, that book was the most fascinating book I ever read. It was actually the first fitness book I ever read, anything like it. And when I heard that book from the start to the finish, I read it several times and I thought, I need this coach. I need to find a way to get on board with this coach. So I emailed him and we talked. He asked me questions. I filled out an application, and that was the beginning of where I am now. It was amazing. I'm so glad that he accepted me. It was his book.
My husband actually listens to you, and he heard that you had this program, and he suggested that, hey, this is something different. Why don't you try this? And so I went ahead and I looked into it, and I decided, yes, that would be good because it would give me the accountability. And it was different than the approaches I had been doing.
I love to listen to podcasts when I work out or when I'm doing anything. And I kind of fell into the 40 Plus Fitness podcast. And I just liked your message. It resonated. It made sense. The things you were saying made common sense to me. Didn't sound like some crazy, let's, do this and have success in 10 days or something like that. It just seemed like a good, healthy, balanced approach.
When I spoke to him, I felt very comfortable with him. I felt that he was going to guide me. And I had this kind of preconceived notion that like a personal coach was more like a drill instructor. And I didn't feel that at all. I felt like he was there to guide you. I started with the idea of weight loss, but he was more of a guidance in terms of improving overall health. And that's what I got out of our initial conversation. And I think it kind of spoke to what I really wanted, which was improving my health in general.
I chose Coach Allen because I was always searching for something. I've always worked out, and I recall in my car driving, I was just searching for, I believe it was a podcast for health and exercise. And I listened to just one episode, and then I put it in my favorites. And then I continued on listening to a lot of other episodes, and I connected. I had this connection with Coach Allen somewhere where I wanted to be in my life and with my journey of health. And at that time, I looked up on his website. I downloaded his book. I listened to the book, and then I contacted him.
Because of the reputation I heard from others who had been coached under him, and also because of the research I did myself listening to his podcast.
What are some of your wins? What are you most proud of from the GAS program?
I have lost some weight and I've lost some inches. But more than that, I feel like it's more of a lifestyle now. So if I do go off my eating plan when I go on vacation, I know that I'm going to start back up, and I look forward to getting back on plan. And I don't go to bed feeling guilty or bad like I used to in the past of, I ate the wrong thing. I didn't do this. I just feel so much more confident about things, my health these days.
I'm most proud of the fact that I haven't given up, even though sometimes I have some valleys that I get into and some ruts that I have to get out of. I love Alan's roadmap analogy, and so it seems like I can get on the detours all right. But Alan is inspirational, and when I've ever talked with Alan, I'm always really ready to get going again, and it sustains me for quite a while. I did lose weight. Right now I'm working on losing it again, but I just am very inspired by Alan, and I feel like I've won whenever I have a full week that I've done some exercise in a day, and when I've stopped eating sweets and started really counting things and leaving out sugars.
Well, I've lost a good amount of body fat as well as gaining strength. Definitely do feel like I've been able to take things up a notch, and I look forward to continuing to do that.
When I listened to Coach Allen's book, he was talking about used to be. And I have used to be's. I used to be a dancer. I used to walk a lot. I used to practice yoga, and various things in life stopped those activities. And I had actually become kind of like a non-mover. I wasn't motivated. And so what I'm most happy about is I move now. Yeah, I don't dance because my feet got injured and I can't do that again, but that's okay. I'm doing other things. I've built up my strength. When Coach Allen gave me my first program, I thought, wow, that's easy. That's like wimpy. Okay, I have to do some squats. I have to do some overhead presses. I have to do some side lunges and counter push-ups or knee push-ups. And I thought, I can do that. That's not hard at all. Well, I stood on that band, tried to press up over my head, and I couldn't do it, not even with a 10-pound resistance band. That was a shock to me because I used to be a lot fitter. And as I worked at it day by day, slowly, I've gotten stronger. And so I'm really happy with that. I'm proud of that. I'm also proud of my nutrition. I eat better. I eat good food, healthy food. I don't drink Pepsi anymore. I'm proud of the learning I've done to learn about fitness and even to share things with my family, little things that I've learned that I think they might be interested in. I'm really happy I can do that. So I'm very proud of what I've accomplished.
Well, yes, definitely weight loss, but even more than that was we went to get a DEXA scan, which shows your body fat percentage. And from the initial one to the next one, while I had been working with you, I had lost in body fat, but my muscle had actually gained a little bit. So I thought that was great. And the lady who was doing the scan was, wow, whatever you're doing, keep it up.
I think I'm most proud of when I started the program, my A1C was above 9. And the last 2 times I've had it tested, it's been 6. And I've dropped 1 of 2 of my meds. And if I would focus a little bit more, I would be able to drop the other one. So I'm kind of just working on dropping meds. And over the time I've known Alan and interacted with him, I started at 265. I'm currently like 235. So I'm down about 30 pounds, but I still have a ways to go.
I think I'm most proud of the fact that I not only lost 45 pounds, but I also got rid of some of my blood pressure medication, and my blood pressure is better regulated. So I would say that was like a double win. And I also have a lot more energy. I feel like I gained some years more than anything. I feel like I'm 10 years younger, if you will, because I can do the things I was doing 10 years ago.
Well, my wins are what I've got is of commitment. And when I put myself to something, I know I'm gonna be committed on completing that. But what I also learned is I can't do this on myself, so I need some guidance. And with guidance of a coach or an accountability partner, that's what I need, and that's what I'm most proud of the journey that I've started.
My wins are that I lost a little over 40 pounds, which I did not expect in my wildest dreams. I have a new perspective on the fact that it's not just weight loss at all. It's about your health as you get older and maintaining your muscle mass and maintaining your flexibility and being able to do all the things that you want to do as you get older. I that thought had not really been important to me before until I had coaching.
Do you feel good about this investment of time, effort, and money? Why or why not?
I do feel good about the investment of all of those because I feel like this has been an investment in my health. As I get older, I have a plan. I'm sticking with it. I feel good about those things that I'm doing. And before I didn't have a plan. So I just feel like working with Alan has helped me with that. And it has been a great investment.
I feel good about the time investment and money because I think that it's very flexible. I can do what I need to do whenever I have time. Sometimes I wish I could take more time to have Alan watch me, but I think that's my problem and not Alan's. I enjoy the things that I do, and it's actually quite a bit less expensive than what I was doing with my regular other trainer who was in person. I could get 1 week of training, 1 hour of training with her, whereas with Alan, I can train nonstop if I want to. And then we're rewarded with the calls that Alan offers so that we can be on top of what's new, and he can be on top of what we're doing. And he shows that he cares, even though he's got a few of us to care for. And even though mostly we're online and not in person.
Yes, I do feel good. I think it is worth the investment. I've definitely gotten results, and I like the interaction. I like the ability, the accountability, and the ability to get answers when I need them. And so I do think it's definitely worth the investment.
Absolutely. It's been the best investment I ever made because it's an investment in me and actually in my family and in my loved ones and my friends, because it's made me a different person. I've changed things for the better. I'm happier. I'm more positive. I'm motivated. I love what I'm doing with Coach Allen. I wouldn't change it for anything. And I'm so glad I did it. And I hope Coach Allen does 5,000 more podcasts.
Yes, I do. Sometimes you just need some help, or you need someone to help you have accountability and guidance on what to do next. And we're talking about health here. This is determining how you're going to feel in the future as well as today. And that's important. I mean, I want to be the little old lady that everybody's going, what in the world is she doing now? And that's where we are.
I do think it's been a good effort of my time and money, because it's not that much money when you think about it. And, your health, if you don't have your health, you're screwed. You could have all the money in the world and no health, and, you're the guy from Apple. I can't remember his name, but so that was really, I wanted to invest in myself, and it's been great. I feel even when I slip up, and I'm like right now, I'm kind of in a little bit of a slump. I feel like I have all the tools to just right the ship and keep moving forward. It's like I don't get into panic mode, or I don't get into woe is me mode. It's like, well, are you doing what you should be doing? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, then make some corrections and keep moving forward. So for that, I've got that great mindset going where it's like there is no finish line. It's just life.
It was definitely a good investment of my time, effort, and money, all three. The time and the effort, I wish I had done this sooner, because I think I would feel that much better if I started earlier. But it's definitely been a great experience and a great investment, because the payoff has been tremendous.
I do feel good about the investment. And the reasons why is I did a lot of research in regards to hiring a coach. And I did hire a coach prior to this for a cycling event. And I need the guidance. So when I put time and money into it, it gives me that much more to fulfill my goals that I need to succeed.
I absolutely do. I get the chills when I think what would have happened if I had not gotten in touch with you, or if the things that had lined up in order to get your coaching, if those things had not happened, I am afraid to think where I would be right now today.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about the 40 Plus Fitness GAS program?
When I started, I was really concerned about the group calls, because I thought, I don't know if I'm going to, have the same kind of questions, or people going to be even interested in what I have to say. But when I did sign up, I thought, okay, I'm going to make sure that I ask questions. I'm going to do the group calls, even though I'm uncomfortable with it. And that was the biggest surprise for me, because I really like the group calls. So I can't say that's a negative, because I really do. I just, they ask questions that I have the same interest in. And even if not, I feel like I learned so much. And I do like how you do the, whatever's on your mind at the beginning of the calls. So that I think is good. But everything else, I just feel like you're there when I'm having a rough time. You say, just set up a call. You'll, answer any questions I have, or even through the app, I'm able to just reach out, or you reach out to me. So I feel like there's good conversation there. And then, like I said, I was really surprised with the group. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel with all that, but that was a pleasant surprise.
I think people ought to really consider 40 plus fitness training if they're over 40, because Alan is not 20 something or even 30 something, and he understands the body as it's beginning to relapse into old. And if you don't want your body to relapse into old, then you should join up with Alan and work with Alan, because he's with you all the way on this, given that he's in the same age group and he knows what he's doing, and he's had his own successes and failures that he's had to work through the failures, and has had a lot of wins. So it's a great thing and motivating to work with Alan.
Well, I really appreciate Coach Allen. I appreciate the efforts he puts in, and it's definitely something that those looking to take things to a different level should be considering.
I listen to 40 Plus Fitness podcasts every day. I listen to my favorite ones over and over and learn something every time I listen to them, even on repeat listens. I think they're so valuable. I love them, and I love that book. It's a great book. If you haven't read it, please read it.
Yeah, I've been doing some things that I never thought I would. And some of the program aspects of the program were things I had kind of heard about, but I thought, oh, that's not for me. And yet I'm finding, hey, those things are actually what's working for me. So, and then the other things that I just thought I would never be able to do, I'm actually doing now. So,
well, I really enjoy that, I can reach out to Alan anytime. If I text him or message him, he gets right back to me. And, it's almost like having your own personal psychiatrist, because, he really talks you through some stuff, and it's been a good relationship.
I think the biggest thing that drew me to it, and looking back at the program after I'm done with it, is that the accountability and the support from other people, just knowing that everyone's in the same boat you're in, we're all just trying to get better. The accountability of reporting to everybody, hey, I did this week, this worked, this didn't work. It keeps you to the program. It really keeps you motivated, because motivation alone, trying to stay motivated, it's difficult. With the program, it gives you all those things. And the day that you're struggling, that's when you'll talk to someone and they kind of pep you up and tell you, hey, I had that same issue, or, oh, this is what you can do to help that out. There's always something there to support you and keep you moving forward. You don't really have those moments where you're giving up because there's really no one there to support you and encourage you. The program really did do a lot of that for me. I don't think I would have done it on my own. I know I wouldn't have done it on my own. I've been on diets many times, and diet doesn't do it. It's all of it together. It's having that support, the guidance, the knowledge to do what's right, and knowing what works.
40 Plus Fitness has been a pivotal part of my health journey, let's say. And one of the reasons that it is because as an airline pilot, I'm on the road a lot. And I can always find a gym. I can always find exercising. I can always go for a walk or run or whatever the case may be. But what I find really hard is getting organized with food and just prepping. And I think as someone who's traveling, I'm going to be completely honest. It is a hard thing to maintain nutritional goals while you're traveling. And what I will say about that is you got to put in time. You got to put in effort. You got to do your homework, and you got to prepare. And the guidance that I get through Coach Allen is he's put me on a program, and there's so much information that I'm able to gather, motivation that I'm able to gather in order for me to prep, because it's always been hard being on the road to travel. And also I'm able to get the exercises I need via the website and the apps for me to be motivated and have accountability throughout my process in my health journey.
I would like to say to anybody who's on the fence about considering getting a coach to jump in, because Alan provides a money back guarantee. You do have to want it and work for it, but take a chance and put yourself all in. And the results or the benefits of it are amazing.
Welcome back, Raz.
Hey, Ellen. Your 7 tips, systems that you had put together were probably all of the key points that every person should consider on their health and fitness journey. There's a few that stood out, but that was pretty much all the most important things that people need to know.
Yeah, I just sat there and I was, what do we put into this episode? Because I didn't want it to just be, let's talk about the podcast, because it really doesn't, I don't think that does 6 years of work justice to say, oh, here I did this and here I did that. We did those things and I had help all along the way. And that was really kind of the theme I wanted to get out of there. I hope I did, was that everybody needs help at some level for some things. And it's hard sometimes to ask for help. You think, okay, if I didn't pay my audio processor to do this because I can do it, then because the whole testimonial piece, I put all of that together. So I can do the audio editing and cutting and processing and all of that. I can't make people on the phone sound better, but that is what it is. But we should ask for help. And that was really, in going through all of that was a core theme for me, was don't be afraid to ask for help. But I couldn't just make that the show, ask for help, ask for help, ask for help. I knew I needed to do something more. And that's why I sat down and spent a good bit of time thinking about, okay, what did I learn? What was this all for? Talking to 311 guests and reading over 300 books and, having these and doing a lot of research and having these conversations and working with my clients, hundreds of clients over that time. What stood out as the keys to all of this? And so that's why I wanted to share that. And I do call it your wellness systems. It's just really one system, but I needed another S in there just because that's how the acronym fell. But I thought, sharing 7 things that were really important was a key learning moment, key learning point, and really a good summary of 6 years of podcasting.
My gosh, 6 years. Congratulations on that, by the way. That's amazing. And this being your 500th podcast is just incredible to me. And I've listened to probably almost every single one of your podcasts, and every single one I've learned something. But one of the key things that I find, like in your systems acronym, but also that I found in your podcast, is the making health and fitness a part of your lifestyle, make it sustainable.
Yeah, too often the people will think, well, I did this diet and I lost some weight, and then whoops, something happened. I slipped up, a birthday party, had a piece of cake, something happened. And as a result of a planned or unplanned detour, as I talk about it in the Wellness Roadmap book, is, you're always going to have detours. Birthdays come around every year. And, I was talking to one client and he has X numbers of cousins and children and family members. And so I was like, well, so basically based on that number of family members, you're having a birthday party twice a month.
Oh gosh.
It's like every time you have a birthday party, you're going to go off the rails for 3 days. Well, you just lost 1/4 of your whole month off the rails. And he said that is if I get back on in 3 days. Sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's a month. And so you want to find those ways that are it's just your path. It's grooved into the way you live your life. And that's, I kind of equate it to this. If you get into the habit of running, you change your behavior and you change your identity. So Rachel identifies as a runner. If you do CrossFit, you identify as a CrossFitter. If you eat a certain way, that way of eating, you call yourself that. You're a vegetarian, you're an omnivore, you eat clean, you're a clean eater. A lot of those things actually become a part of your personality. They become how you relate. And they also then reflect the people that you hang out with. A carnivore and a vegetarian hanging out together could happen if they're both adults, but for most people, no, different tribes. They're not going to relate, and they're not going to enjoy going out to dinners together. And so you start to revolve around the people that fit your lifestyle. And if you continue to hang out with other people, then it hasn't become a sustainable lifestyle, because if you can't beat it back and say, no, I've got to get back on the path, because this is who I am. And so, you might, if you went on a trip, you might not run for a week. And for you, that would be almost torture. But as soon as you get back, you're lacing up your shoes. The first 30 minutes, hour, 2 hours you're lacing up your shoes and you're back on the path. And so, and in many cases, even the trips you plan to have running time and running places.
Usually, yes.
Yeah. And so that's, but that's the core of it, is that you've built a lifestyle where you said, okay, who am I and what do I do? And the running has become who you are.
And there's two thoughts in all of that, Alan. And there's two things is that you've developed your podcast, you wrote the book, and you have a wonderful community on Facebook where you've made it just that. You've made it a community where people can be exposed to other healthful people. There's a lot of people on your Facebook page that aren't runners, and you yourself are not a runner so much as I am, maybe, but it's still a community where we can look to each other for information and support and encouragement, which is half the battle right there. But the second thing I wanted to mention too is, with the same thing with your podcast and your book and your Facebook community, I think that you've taught a lot of people how to get back. You mention it, you call it a detour in your book. Like you just said, it happens to all of us all the time. But if we keep I'll start the diet on Monday kind of mentality, or if we decide to quit because we had one day of bad eating and we just ruined everything and we just want to quit, that is just self-sabotaging. But you've taught us how to just be kind to ourselves, accept that we celebrated a birthday party or had a holiday weekend or whatever, and then get back to it as soon as possible. If you make it a bad meal, it's better than you making it a bad weekend or a bad month of eating, for example. So I think that's one of the best things that have come out of your podcast and your book and your Facebook community.
Thank you. Because I'm planning this vacation, and the place we're going is an all-inclusive resort.
Ooh.
And so I'm literally going to be having, dollar bills in my pocket to tip the waiters. And I'm not going to care, for a week. I'm not going to care. I'm going to bloat up like a whale. I just do. And then I'm going to enjoy, like I said, I'm going to enjoy when I get in. I'm going to have oysters every way I can have them. When we finally get there, because we're in New Orleans, we're going to be in Miami, we're going to be in Pensacola. I'm going to eat a lot of oysters, and I'm going to find Brussels sprouts, and I'm going to eat Brussels sprouts. And I'm the things I don't get or don't normally eat, I'm probably going to eat and enjoy the heck out of them. And after that's over, when I get back on that plane and I land in Panama City, I'm going to have a plan. I'm researching hiring a coach for myself, an online coach for myself. So they'll put me on a program. I'll have the accountability. I'll do the things that I need to do. And I'm working my way of thinking about what is that next little thing I want to do to just keep the fire lit.
Right.
And so I'm no different than anybody else. I still have foibles. I still screw up from time to time. And as I said on my Facebook, if the air is human, I'm the humanest human out there. So that's really what this podcast is. It's trying to take health and fitness and say, it's not about Flex Friday. It's not about competing with anyone else. It's about just doing the thing to make yourself better tomorrow.
Right. The other piece of advice you mentioned is that 80-20 rule. I didn't even think about it until you mentioned it. When I think 80-20, I think, I'll take the weekend off, but that's not 20% of my week. So that's another
It feels
mindset.
like it. It feels like it. From a time perspective, it went by really, really fast if you were having a good time. And so, that weekend went by very fast. It feels like 20% of a week, maybe even less, but it's not.
But no, but see, that just goes to show that even with all of your podcasts, even after all this 500 episodes, I still learned something that I never gave much thought to before.
Oh, good. I hope we have 500 more, but at doing 52 per week, that's good 9 years or so down the line. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. I think you could cover a whole ton of topics between now and then.
There's so much to cover. Yeah,
there really is.
All right, Rachel. Well, I'll see you next week.
Yep. Take care.
Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, we meet Chuck Rose and discuss his book, Customize Yourself Nutrition, and what I learned from my 110-year-old mother. Until then, have a happy and healthy week.